You guys are really gonna have this down. All right, Unit 2, Healthcare Delivery Systems, quiz review.
You got a quiz today?
Yeah, we do, and I bet you guys are gonna do really well. So, see if you guys can remember some of these things. Okay, when we're talking about healthcare facilities, what is something, what would you say about healthcare facilities? Do taxpayers have an input on decisions being made?
No.
No, they do not. What about the United States government?
No.
And do you think facilities try to meet their goals or they don't really care?
They try to meet the goals like here.
And they should have a mission and measurable goals?
Yes.
Okay. What about workers in a healthcare industry? Do they work together or do they just rely on themselves?
Together.
They work together.
Like nurses and doctors.
Nurses and doctors is one great example. When we're talking about healthcare systems, we talked about places like Canada with public systems and how they're funded, and more like the United States, it has private systems. So when we're talking about the main type of healthcare currently used in the United States, which type is it, first of all? Private, and it's funded mostly by
Out-of-pocket payments and insurance.
insurance and out-of-pocket payments.
I said that.
Exactly. Efficiency, strength, and focus are things that we talked about that are part of what? Chain of command. Chain of command and hierarchy are kind of similar things, but chain of command is what we're looking at. What about when someone goes to a clinic, what would you call them?
Consumer.
A consumer, that's exactly right. And what about when this consumer goes in for a lab test, for example, what is a lab test, an example of?
Services.
A service. The consumer comes in to use the service. What is, let's switch around here. Do healthcare facilities have processes in place to deal with issues? Yes, they must have processes in place. What about interdependence? Is that something that is true of a healthcare team? And what is it?
It's where everyone has to do their job, or else the team falls apart.
One part has to do their job so that everyone else can. So an example of that would be a lab technician who runs tests. They have to get the tests run so that the physician can see the results and provide proper care for patients.
What'd you say that was again?
Interdependence of the healthcare team. Do you remember that?
Something.
Oh, I know one. Xavier, you know this one. What is an example of a nonprofit organization?
American Red Cross, American Cancer Society.
That's right. What about the Center for Disease Control? Is that a nonprofit organization?
No.
That is not a nonprofit organization, but American Cancer Society is. Did we talk about, let's see,
What
when we're
the
talking about a
FDA?
system, what?
What about the FDA?
That would not be an example of a nonprofit organization. When we're talking about a system, what, I don't know how to say this. Okay, so a system has individual parts that work together as a whole. But, let's say this. Let's just stop there. A group of individual parts that work together to form a whole is what? How would we describe a system? Exactly. Oh, okay, systems theory. Let's go to this awesome diagram here.
Oh.
Label the components of systems theory. I am not gonna make you guys do that again, but let's just talk about feedback loop. What is feedback loop?
feedback loop.
A feedback loop is part of the system theory, that monitors output. And it determines whether or not the system's working, that's right. What about controls? What does that do?
Pinpoints problems.
It pinpoints problems in the system before the output's complete, yep. Tell me about behavioral health facilities, what do they do? What kind of services would they provide, or for whom would they provide services?
Mental health.
Mental health,
And recovering from addictions and stuff.
addiction, and substance abuse. Okay, so when we're talking about organizational structure in healthcare facilities, would you say, this is true? That employees can only talk to people who are below them? Would you say that's true? No, you talk to all ranges of people. What about, do facilities, develop a line of authority to show the pay scale of team members? No, pay scale is not something they would show. And what about new employees? Are they expected to follow the line of authority?
Yes.
But most importantly, employees must respect the role of other team members, both above and below.
Yes.
Okay, Xavier, you were talking about the FDA. What does that stand for?
Food and Drug Administration.
And what is their purpose?
They regulate the food and drug products that sell in the United States.
They regulate food and drug products sold in the United States. That's exactly right. You really remembered this information. I think that's it for your quiz review.